officer who has served as the 41st governor of Minnesota since 2019. He is the Democratic Party's nominee for vice president in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. He was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from 2007 to 2019 and was the ranking member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee from 2017 to 2019. Walz was born in West Point, Nebraska. After high school, he joined the Army National Guard and worked in a factory. He later graduated from Chadron State College in Nebraska before moving to Minnesota in 1996. Before running for Congress, he was a high school social studies teacher and football coach. He was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives for Minnesota's 1st Congressional District in 2006, defeating 6-term Republican incumbent Gil Gutknecht. Walz was re-elected to the House 5 times before being elected governor of Minnesota in 2018. He was re-elected in 2022, defeating Republican nominee Scott Jensen. During his 2nd gubernatorial term, Walz pushed for and signed a wide range of legislation, including tax modifications, free school meals, bolstering state infrastructure, universal gun background checks, codifying abortion rights, and free college tuition for low-income families. On August 6th, 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris announced Walz as her running mate in the 2024 presidential election. Early career: teaching. After graduating from Chadron State College in 1989, Walz accepted a 1-year teaching position with World Teach in Foshan Namdar 1 High School in Guangdong, China. After returning, he took a job teaching and coaching in Alliance, Nebraska, and in 1993 was named Outstanding Young Nebraskan by the Nebraska Junior Chamber. While working as a teacher, Walz met his wife, Gwen Whipple, a fellow teacher, and in 1994 the two married. 2 years later, they moved to Mankato, Minnesota, Gwen's home state, where Walz worked as a geography teacher and football coach at Mankato West High School. The team had lost 27 straight games when he joined the coaching staff as defensive coordinator. In 1999, the team won its first state championship. In 1999, Walz agreed to be the faculty advisor of Mankato West High School's first Gay Straight Alliance. From 1994 to 2003, he and his wife also ran educational travel adventures, which organized summer educational trips to China for high school students. Walz earned a Master of Science in Educational Leadership from Minnesota State University, Mankato, in 2001, writing his master's thesis on Holocaust education. In March 2006, he took a leave of absence from teaching to focus on his congressional campaign. Military service. With his father's encouragement, Walz enlisted in the Army National Guard the day after he turned 17. His father had served in the Korean War and paid for his education degree with the GI Bill, and he wanted his son to have the same opportunity. Walz served in the National Guard for 24 years after enlisting in 1981. During his military career, he had postings in Arkansas, Texas, the Arctic Circle, New Ulm, Minnesota, Italy, and elsewhere. He trained in heavy artillery. During his service, he worked in disaster response postings following floods and tornadoes and was deployed overseas. In 1989, he earned the title of Nebraska Citizen Soldier of the Year. In 2001, Walz completed the 20 years of service needed for retirement from the Guard, but he re-enlisted after the September 11, 2001 attacks. In August 2003, Walz deployed with the Minnesota National Guard to Vicenza, Italy for 9 months to serve with the European Security Force in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Walz attained the rank of Command Sergeant Major near the end of his service, and briefly was the senior enlisted soldier in the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery Regiment. His decorations included the Army Commendation Medal and 2 Army Achievement Medals. In February 2005, Walz submitted official documents to run for the U.S. House of Representatives. The next month, his National Guard unit was notified of a possible deployment to Iraq within the next 2 years. Walz retired from military service in May 2005, later explaining that he wanted to focus on his campaign for Congress and did not want to violate the Hatch Act, which forbids some political activities by federal government employees. During his political career, Republicans, notably Vice Presidential candidate J.D. Vance, have used the timing of his military retirement as a smear campaign that has been compared to swift boating. A National Guard colleague, Joe Eustace, recalled that at the time Walz retired, his unit's deployment was only a rumor and not yet confirmed. The Minnesota National Guard confirmed that Walz retired 2 months before his unit was officially notified in July 2005 of its future deployment to Iraq. Though he was a Command Sergeant Major at the time of his retirement, Walz's final military rank for retirement benefit purposes is Master Sergeant, as he had not completed the required academic coursework to remain a Command Sergeant Major by his final day of service. The downgrade of 1 rank was effective from the day before his military retirement. Political involvement, Walz became first active in politics in August 2004, when he volunteered for John Kerry's presidential campaign. He was inspired to volunteer in the presidential election after he took a group of students to a George W. Bush rally in Mankato and was angered by the security team's questioning of his students' politics after they saw a Kerry sticker on a student's wallet. He was appointed the Kerry campaign's coordinator for his county as well as a district coordinator of Vets for Kerry. In 2005, Walz completed the 2.5-day campaigns and elections crash course at Camp Wellstone, a program run by Wellstone Action, the non-profit organization Mark and David Wellstone created to carry on the work of their parents, Paul Wellstone and Sheila Wellstone. Police reform and protest response on May 26th, 2020, the day after the murder of George Floyd, Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan demanded justice and called a video of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck disturbing. Walz elaborated, "The lack of humanity in this disturbing video is sickening. We will get answers and seek justice." In response to riots in Minnesota, Walz partially activated the Minnesota National Guard on May 28th and fully activated it on May 30th. President Trump reacted to Walz's actions by saying that he was very happy and that he did fully agree with the way Walz handled it. What the Minnesota National Guard did in Minneapolis was incredible. Trump called Walz an excellent guy. Trump also publicly claimed credit for deploying the Minnesota National Guard. Walz's office said Trump had no impact on Walz's deployments of the Minnesota National Guard. Political opponents and other groups criticized Walz's initial response to the widespread protests following Floyd's murder. He later responded to the murder by ordering the Minnesota legislature to reconvene for special sessions on legislation for police reform and accountability. After police reform failed to pass the first special session in June, a second special session was held in July. On July 21st, the legislature passed significant police reform legislation. The new compromise law included a limited ban on police from using chokeholds, so long as the officers are not at greater risk. It banned the old warrior training program, which was regarded as dehumanizing people and encouraging aggressive conduct. It required training peace officers to deal with people with autism, or in a mental health crisis, and de-escalation training for situations that could turn volatile. It also created a special independent unit at the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for investigations of fatal police encounters, and a community relations advisory council to consult with the police officers' standards and training board on policy changes. Walz signed the legislation into law on July 23, 2020. Abortion. In January 2023, Walz signed the Protect Reproductive Options Act, which protects access to reproductive health care, including abortion, contraception, and fertility treatments in Minnesota. Abortion is legal at all stages of pregnancy in Minnesota. In April 2023, he signed the Reproductive Freedom Defense Act, which bans state agencies from enforcing out-of-state subpoenas, arrest warrants, and extradition requests for people who travel to Minnesota for legal abortion, and limits the release of related health records. Cannabis Walz advocated for the legalization of recreational cannabis. As governor of Minnesota, as a candidate for governor in 2017, he said, "We have an opportunity in Minnesota to replace the current failed policy with one that creates tax revenue, grows jobs, builds opportunities for Minnesotans, protects Minnesota kids, and trusts adults to make personal decisions based on their personal freedoms." In 2022, he proposed the creation of a cannabis management office to develop and implement the regulatory framework for adult use cannabis in Minnesota. On May 30th, 2023, he signed into Law House File 100 to legalize recreational cannabis in Minnesota, which went into effect on August 1st, 2023. Medical debt. In June 2024, Walz signed the Minnesota Debt Fairness Act. Among other things, the act prevents healthcare providers from denying medically necessary treatment because of outstanding medical debt, and prevents medical debt from affecting credit scores.